Now listen up.
Insights EDU 2025 is almost here. Join us February 12th through 14th in New Orleans for the most anticipated higher education marketing and enrollment management event of the year.
I like that.
Imagine 3 action-packed days filled with game-changing insights, real-world case studies, and a hands-on workshop designed to transform your marketing strategy and boost your program enrollment. Learn from speakers at Google, Meta, Reddit, MIQ Digital, and top schools across the nation. Network with industry leaders, exchange ideas, and discover the tools to drive real results. This is your opportunity to stay ahead of the competition and meet the demands of today's modern learners. Don't wait. Spots are filling fast. Mark your calendar, rally your team, and head to insightsedu.com to register now. The era of the modern learner is here, and you need to be part of it. We'll see you in New Orleans. At Ellucian Live 2025, we're going to explore the magic of innovation. We want to imagine, believe, and achieve. It's happening April 6th through 9th, 2025 in Orlando, Florida, and we're going to explore technology, modernization, and
artificial intelligence.
Explore the latest technology solutions, discover industry insights, and make valuable connections as a global community. It's time to register for Ellucian Live 2025 at elive.ellucian.com.
Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe today.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you here on another episode. And I got to tell you guys, as we get close to the end of the year, 2024, so much has happened and in higher education recently and less recently throughout 2024. One of the most interesting things to watch, if you're listening to this podcast, is the emergence of the 90 credit bachelor's, which is coming up here and there. Institutions are thinking about it, working on it, talking to faculty about it. And, you know, this general question of post-secondary higher education, does it have to be a degree? Doesn't it? And one of the ways that I think I've seen higher education respond is say, well, we can cut out some of these gen eds that may, you know, you probably took a class in college, all of you listening to this, and you go, I shouldn't have taken that. Or if I did, I got 3 credits for it. Mine were ballroom dancing, yoga, and racquetball. And I got an A, a D, and an A, respectively. Somehow, yoga and I didn't get along, or I couldn't do the poses. I don't remember what happened. But, you know, that was 9 credits. Could I have taken something else? What will we see technology do for the future of higher education? 2025 is going to be a really interesting year, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're still in 2024, and we're still marching hard to see how wide and far we can push this podcast and how many innovative leaders we can have. Now, I will tell you, this is a first. I've done and recorded, I don't know how many episodes, over 1,000, actually, because we have like 25 that have yet to come out. But this is the first time, I think, in all those episodes where people showed up, and one in particular showed up to this podcast and thought he was going to listen and ended up having to be a guest. And he's here, and then I'll bring in the guest we originally scheduled with. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get him in now. He's Sonny Calderon. He is the Vice President of Academic Affairs at the New York Film Academy. How are you, Sonny?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, you are correct. This is a big surprise for me. I wasn't planning on being a guest, but I'm super thrilled to have the opportunity.
Now, luckily for you, Sonny, I did have a sound effect downloaded for you.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
But you know what? There you go. It's a surprise. I hope you're quick on your toes and that you're ready for all these questions. I have a list of questions that I was asked to ask you by the person who I've yet to introduce secretly. So I hope you're ready. But let's bring him in now. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Michael Young. He's the president at New York Film Academy. Michael, welcome to Net Up. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Joe, and thanks for working with me to try to trick Sonny in this episode and see if we can stop him.
Well, I have this text message from you that says when Sonny comes on, make him a guest. So, it wasn't that secret to me, but we'll leave those reveals for later. I do want you guys to start off. Maybe there's somebody listening to this podcast that has not heard of the New York Film Academy before. Let's just assume that. Michael, we'll start with you. Tell us about the New York Film Academy. What do you do? How do you do it? And where are you?
Yeah. Well, thank you again. We really are just thrilled to be on your podcast. So New York Film Academy, I've been thinking about this question really, and I usually would say, we started really as a conservatory for film making and related, everything it takes to make a movie, from directing, cinematography, screenwriting, producing, editing, and acting. And in thinking about it, again, I kind of realized that in some ways we came from higher ed first, because the school opened in 1992, and it was opened by a film producer named Jerry Sherlock. He was the founder. And Jerry was and by the way, we lost him just about almost exactly 9 years ago this month. And he had been a self-educated person. He had left school and never got to complete high school. And he'd gone out in the world and been an entrepreneur eventually, and quite successful, and eventually got to Hollywood. And his biggest film, he was executive producer of The Hunt for Red October, which some, especially I think this audience, maybe some of us should remember pretty well from the
great movie,
the 80s. Yeah, fantastic film. No sound effect. I'm sorry I couldn't give you on that one.
But I didn't have a submarine sinking or anything like that. It's all good.
But so Jerry was inspired by the idea that there was not a lot of options for how to learn how to get into filmmaking, to directing, to being in the movies. And as a producer, he saw that the only thing he could really offer young people was, come on and be a production assistant, which is great, but it's not actually experience in doing the thing you want to do, which is directing. So he had a kind of a dream to do this. And he began to put together a team. And I was fortunate. I had been to film school, graduate school at NYU Film. I'd been an undergrad and at Harvard, and they had a fantastic visual arts kind of track within their arts programs. And I was one of those people. And we had amazing film director join us who had been teaching at NYU. We had this woman named Liza Baer, a fantastic educator, a cinematographer, a sound guy. And we came together with Jerry and said, well, what can we do? What can we draw from these great film schools like NYU, USC, or international schools that some of our group had attended? How can we distill this and give, kind of to your point in your open, exactly the thing the student needs to be able to do this? That's where we started. And we were drawing from our experiences in grad school and in great film schools and undergrad. And so that is what we did, is we tried to take the things that you must know today to do this tomorrow. And that was the guiding principle. Day one, students had cameras in their hands because they were going to shoot the next day. These are film cameras, 16 millimeter film cameras, which were hard to get access to at that time. Weren't many places you could get that training. And by the end of the first week, each student would be directing a short and editing that on film early in the second week, and from there just building. And we created a program about 8 weeks long, which covered, in terms of the actual production, what you might take a year to do in a film program at that time. So that was sort of distilling a higher education experience into a very intensive sort of total immersion program in filmmaking. And we opened in 92 in Tribeca at the Tribeca Film Center, which still is the place where Tribeca Films and the Tribeca Film Institute and the festival is run out of. And it kind of caught the imagination of people, not just in New York, but in the very first class, which was, about almost 33 years ago, students from all over the world. We had a student from Syria take this first program, Italians. We had a guy who was a recent immigrant from China who was working at a Chinese restaurant delivering, food. We had a ballerina. We had a longtime New York lawyer from Staten Island. So it was this incredible mix of people with a common dream. They wanted to do this. They wanted to be filmmakers, and they didn't know where to do it. And at that time, I was fortunate enough to go to a place like NYU Grad Film. The people I brought in quickly were people from NYU, USC, Columbia, who had graduates from there, and practitioners, people, veterans in the field. And with that kind of a faculty, and that's the kind of faculty we still have, that you're delivering what the students really need to master these disciplines, these crafts. So it's a lot. It's kind of, I kind of got stuck in year one, but so we evolved from there.
Let's go into 1993 then. Now,
yeah,
no,
1993.
Maybe hit the fast forward button just a tad. No, it's okay, Michael.
No, we're going to spill the whole. We won't even get to when we started bachelor programs, which is fairly, comparatively recently. The first bachelor's was in 2010 in Los Angeles. We were based at Universal Studios for many years. We were literally on the lot of Universal Studios. If you're not familiar with it, kind of one of the biggest and most important studios in Hollywood. And we began offering a bachelor's in film. But between that first program and 2010, we grew and expanded and began offering this approach, hands-on, learn by doing from professionals in the field. And both two, I think, really key points. Being the author of your work, being a creator, and that's very involved in making a film, but also the essential element of collaboration with other humans. And that becomes more important now, I think, than maybe in 92 and in the interim. But that working as a group of collaborators with a common purpose and being able, if you're the director, to be able to organize and manage that group to achieve an end. And that experience of making a film or acting in a film, writing a film, it is transformative. We always talk about the impact on society, on the audience, bringing people together, bridging gaps, building empathy. But it is the impact on the filmmaker, on the artist is immeasurable. It is so profound what happens to a person going through this experience of making films, performing in films. And again, we've broadened, we've used this approach with animation, game design. We have an extraordinary musical theater program in New York with Broadway faculty, screenwriting, producing. We collaborated together with NBC News many years ago and developed a broadcast journalism, digital journalism program along the same kind of fundamental principles. So we evolved over the years, moved not just New York, Los Angeles, Miami, overseas. We've held programs in the summer in Paris every summer for many years, at Harvard University every summer. So we
Florence. Did you
Florence, Italy? Yes.
I gotta say, Michael, before you continue, thank you so much for inviting me to Florence for our in-person podcast that we'll be recording. So just let me know when that's going to be.
Well, thank you for introducing that, because we're going to invite you into our Red Bull program in Florence, because you brought up another aspect of NYFA, which was we found real strategic partners and collaborators in the industries that we serve. Netflix, we've done several programs with Netflix, training editors in around the world, in India and Ukraine, and we also now are launching a program with Red Bull. It's a semester. We have a semester in Florence at our campus there in the center of Florence, and near Santa Croce. If you've ever been, it's like the most beautiful.
Sure, it's just horrible. It's just a horrible area, I'm sure.
And our students there enjoy being in Florence, and they make their films and learn to act there in short programs, but also in a semester program. So we have a lot of students from colleges from around the U.S. who go there and spend a semester with us learning to be filmmakers or actors. And Red Bull got in touch with us about doing a semester where students would have the option to an elective track where Red Bull creatives will come, explain how Red Bull develops a brand identity, and how the assets, meaning videos, documentaries, not advertisements, but content, as we call it, that is creating a community and a lifestyle associated with their company. And these students will kind of get that inside understanding from the company itself and from their producers and art directors, but also they'll have the opportunity on completion for an internship opportunity, and they will also create content at the end around that concept, around how can you create a brand awareness, idea, feeling, community, identity through media. So it's a special program, and you're invited to participate.
Oh, I can't wait.
Amazing.
I'll tell you, I can't wait. And, Sonny, I'm going to kick it over to you because one of the things that can happen when you talk about so it's kind of specialty, like film academies, it's a niche, right? You're doing something specific, acting and filmmaking. But when you look at the curriculum, you look at the areas of learning, it's pretty vast. And, I think when you kind of boil it down, so to speak, maybe that's a bad way to say it, but just to list a few: photography, producing, screenwriting, cinematography, documentary filmmaking, digital editing, virtual reality, interesting, entertainment media, game design, musical theater, broadcast journalism, 3D animation, and visual effects. It's not as simple as you might think. There are so many nuances and opportunities around the ecosystem of film that from a curricular standpoint, you've got to maintain, set up, and innovate. Like, these are not areas that stand still. They're fast-moving areas. And so from a curricular standpoint, you've got to be putting in and out, what's relevant, what's not, what's relevant, what's not, pulling those in and outs in all the time. Talk to us about maintaining, first of all, educating us on the areas of filmmaking to like an average student who just goes, I kind of want to go to film school. What does that actually mean? And how do you maintain so many fast-moving areas that are evolving?
Yeah. So there are a lot of dimensions to this. And one thing I'll say is that we are built on a few pillars at New York Film Academy. And again, like Michael said, many of them are based on things that perhaps we wished we had gotten when we went to undergraduate or graduate film school. As well as our experience in the field, in the industries we serve. And so one thing is, I will say that traditionally, the sort of traditional venerable film schools that have existed for a few decades, they historically have tended to focus on the art and the craft, which NYFA also does, but you don't quite get the education about the business and the industry itself and how to be a professional, how to go out into the workforce and actually, join that ecosystem and be an active participant in that ecosystem. So that has been one of the pillars at New York Film Academy, is that the faculty who teach at New York Film Academy, they are unicorns. They are a special breed of people who are great teachers and engage the students and engage them in hands-on, authentic learning that mimics the professional field they aspire to enter. And they are working professionals at the same time who actually have the latest information in terms of where the industry is on that day. So on any given day, you could have a screenwriting course where your screenwriting instructor had a pitch meeting in the morning with a studio or a development executive or a producer, and they can come in, and before class actually begins, where you start talking about story structure, they can say, by the way, I just had this meeting. Let me let you know what happened so that that's cool. Where it's going, right? And that's the kind of thing that in traditional film schools, most instructors traditionally have sort of been maybe folks who've retired. And so sometimes the information might not really be that quite up to date. And so New York Film Academy has always worked to make sure that the instructors are people who are in the industry right now and yet have that flexibility to be able to teach courses at the same time and bring that current information to the students. The other thing is, in terms of all the different technologies and where things go, the one constant that will remain through all time is storytelling. And New York Film Academy, we call all of our students visual storytellers. So whether you're an actor or a producer or a 3D animator, you are a storyteller. And we teach the students that each and every one of them is equally responsible to tell the story that is the cornerstone of whatever project it is they're all working on together. So when you lead with that, and when everything serves the story, and you think about the authentic products and projects that the students must create throughout their time, then you do backward design of your curriculum. You know, what are the things that the students should be able to create by the time they leave New York Film Academy and enter the professional world? Therefore, what are all the courses and the scaffolding and the sequence of courses that will support that journey for the students so that they're ready when they're done? And then as far as the technology, that is what we do. We're pretty technology agnostic. And what we do is we update everything according to where the industry is today and where it's headed tomorrow. But the students will be able to tell their story and bring their vision to life regardless of what the technology is, because they learn both at the same time. And the other thing is, you mentioned earlier, you touched upon some of these issues. These are also all life skills, and Michael had spoken about it. So students are learning, I mean, in the WASC accreditation world, you know, we talk about the 5 core competencies. So written and oral communication and information literacy and critical thinking. And these are inherent in the types of learning and education and training that our students are getting. And the New York Film Academy also has its own 5 institutional learning outcomes that every single student comes in contact with during their time at New York Film Academy, including visual literacy, visual storytelling, personal voice, professionalism, and global citizenship. And for an institution that historically has had roughly 50% of our students are international throughout all the past 30 years. Yeah. And that's a real privilege that we have as an institution, because what we do is people come to us to learn how to tell stories in sort of like best practices in Hollywood storytelling, let's say. But our instructors are so excited when they do get those eclectic groups like Michael was talking about earlier, because everyone brings their own cultural sort of ways of telling stories and tropes and kind of, you know, like leitmotifs and how stories get passed from generation to generation. Those get combined with Hollywood production and storytelling methods, and it creates this amazing final product where students are able to tell very personal stories and important stories, but in a way that can be appreciated and enjoyed universally.
I like your style, dude.
You know, I love stories.
It really pulls the room together.
I'll tell you, it really does. I like stories. I like the hero's story. Like there's that framework of the hero's journey to tell a story, right? And I think about artificial intelligence, and this is, I think, is something that is defining or will define how film schools, filmographers, film companies, what happens with technology. And so I really want to get your perspective on this, because is AI this magical gift for the hero? Is it something that we as humans are going to have to work to identify? Because I don't want to watch a film that's generated by AI. I don't. I want to watch humans interacting. And I don't want to be fooled either. Like, that's the thing I think about sometimes. Right now you see videos that are AI generated and you go, is this AI? Isn't it AI? How do I tell? I don't want to be the fool. I want to be able to tell. And it's getting increasingly harder and will. How do you rationalize the technology enhancement versus technology replacement, and the need and the necessity for humans to really make something special. And I'll open it up to both of you because I'm sure you guys have talked about this. Attention, higher ed leaders. Are you ready to transform your marketing and enrollment strategy? Don't miss Insights EDU, February 12th through 14th in New Orleans, the premier conference for higher education marketing and enrollment management. Spots are filling fast. Register now at insightsedu.com. Welcome to the era of the modern learner.
Let's go!
Are you going to miss Ellucian Live this year?
I don't think so.
Exactly. So you might as well register right now at elive.ellucian.com. Ellucian Live 2025, April 6th through 9th in Orlando, Florida. Do not miss it.
Do you want to get invites to special events? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes episodes, and original content? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.
Well, we talk about it a lot, and our teachers, our programs are finding ways that AI is really beneficial, for the process. I think particularly right now in game and animation in particular, but we do see its utility for students, for creators, for creative people. But I think you're asking really profound questions. And
that one, you told me that one was supposed to be for Sonny, but you got it.
Yeah, no, I know. But he's the profound guy. But and I think it touches a little bit on something I said earlier, and I'm just responding to what you said in the moment. Yeah. I was talking about how the actual, filmmaker or actor, that experience for them, not the audience, but the person.
Yeah.
And so, if we do hand that over to a machine, the audience may or may not lose out, but the creator does, that experience of creating. So right now, I've used almost everyone I know has played with AI, generative AI in some way, and we're developing programming around it and all kinds of plans with it of ways to make sure our students are really competitive and being able to use it effectively in their work. But I think the journey of the artist, must be protected. I think it will be protected. And I don't, at least my experience with AI, I can see how there are times when I might speed up a process, get more options to think about, play ideas off, look at many different prototypes for something, if it's in animation, get from one kind of key frame or shot to the next and see options for what could happen in between, sort of as an assist, as a creative assist, as a technological assist. Those things all seem really great to me. We have a board member on our NYFA board of directors. His name is Matthew Modine. He's you may be familiar with the actor. He was Full Metal Jacket is one of his amazing roles as Private Joker, but he's been in film and TV for many years now. Stranger Things is kind of the most recent big show.
Yeah, I think most people know who he is. Yeah, for sure.
So he needs no introduction. So Modine has long been associated with NYFA. He's on our board, and he's a SAG member and was running for SAG president for a while. And he has really spoken out a lot about this during the strike. And I think he said kind of what I feel about it too. It's like, this is something we need to embrace and we can't be scared of. But we also really have to kind of be very careful about the ethics of it. And for an artist, part of that is around ownership. Who owns these
Sure.
images, these performances, and how can they be used? So I think one thing that is happening, I know it's happening, is there is reverse engineering happening as well, where you have an AI product and you can back engineer how it, what all its sources are, how it came to be this product. So I think that technological innovation will be important for people who want to say, like, am I watching AI? Like, I want to know. And I want to know who is this voice really? And how did it come to be? So I think that's going to be important, that there'll be some technological protections for the artist. But I do think it's much, we thought about it with virtual reality, though it's going to change everything about how things are done and made. It didn't. But with AI, I think across society, it's not just a question for film or writing or literature or any of the other creative fields. It's really a question for every aspect of our lives. How much do we want to do ourselves and have a machine help us or do for us? I think that's just a fundamental question for humanity right now. And so just the film industry and creative industries are not an exception. Our experience of the history of what we do is that whenever there's a major technological innovation or disruption, it actually advances the form. There's some displacement and there's kind of recalibration, but then ultimately we still have theater, we still have radio. Here we're basically on the radio right now, and none of the subsequent forms replaced that. I understand AI is not quite the same analogy there, but I think we have to really look to how it can empower us as humans, and how we can really be, I think, forthright about how we're using it. I think students should be able to use AI in classes. They should be very accountable and upfront about how they're using it. That should be part of the process. Here's what I did. Here's how I use the AI to help me understand this problem. Anyway, Sonny, I'm sure, has a load more to say about it.
I mean, I feel you covered a really healthy. It's really.
He gave you the whole segue too. I didn't even need to do anything. It was fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
But I think at this point, it's sort of these high level 30,000 foot discussions are kind of the only ones we can have at the moment, the philosophical discussions, because the technology itself is changing by the minute. I actually had a conversation yesterday with one of our institutional partners who was visiting the school, and he was asking me about AI. And so one of the things I was saying was, currently and for a time being, there's something about human consciousness that currently cannot be replaced, where there's just that 0.01% of when you're putting together a work of art or any kind of communication, that the AI currently they're not quite there yet, where you can tell when like a human soul has created something versus a machine that's just looking at patterns and doing input and output. And the thing I said to them that occurred to me yesterday was, if AI gets to the point that it can trick us into thinking that an artist has created a piece of work rather than a machine, then I have a feeling that the movies are probably the thing that we have to worry about least. That I feel like society will be affected in military, political, realms far more important than was it really the cast of Friends who got back together for that reunion? So I think like it's all going to be related, and like Michael said, I think the economics of it is what's going to drive a lot of it. So like Michael said, like the rights of, what did you learn to teach this learning model is going to be probably part of how these things develop. But yeah, I think at this moment, I do think it's more akin. I remember when, like for instance, when Photoshop came out, in the 90s, and I was like, well, that's the end of photography. No one's ever going to take a picture ever again. And then you realize, no, it's just a different way of capturing and generating and manipulating images.
It's just the opposite. I know more and more people who are becoming enthusiastic about photography and really taking it to high sophisticated levels in terms of what they're creating. I think that's a great example there. And Photoshop has AI capability right now. And Adobe obviously is investing heavily into that. Yeah.
That's actually another point that Michael.
I just want to say photography, but it goes with the other crafts too. So we still have students, and I think every school that has photography, we still have students who want to shoot on film. Forget about AI. They don't want to shoot digital. They don't want to use Photoshop. They want to go to a darkroom. And
that's like having a book in your hands and not using the Kindle. I mean, that's the whole deal.
And my whole desk is full of books, and I prefer to read that way. But it's, people, you can, with 3D printing, you can make all kinds of things that people craft out of their hands, and yet we not only want to be crafting things with our hands, but we want to collect work that other people have created by hand. So I think human-made, hands-on, as we call it in all our programs, I think that is absolutely here to stay. I feel that AI will be a tool at the highest level. It's a kind of a collaborator. Give it some credit. It's actually coming up, generating some things, but it is not a replacement, and I don't think it will be.
Tell them like it is.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Well, so I do want to bring up something else. I know that's the way it is, but I as we talk about the arts, let's just talk about the arts a little bit. There's been an attack, and rightfully or wrongly so, I don't know. It depends on people's opinions on the arts, liberal arts, the arts in general. There's this ROI conversation that surrounds education, and somehow it's become very fuzzy whether the arts or liberal arts are going to enhance somebody's return on investment and ability to make money in their future. We've seen institutions cut their arts programs, journalism. That's what gets cut. They're not cutting STEM programs, and then you see this focus on STEM. And so you go, I guess the question is, what are we getting wrong? Because your students are coming in wanting the arts, and I bet really passionate about it. I bet they know it, right? It's not like, I'm here at New York Film Academy, and I was thinking about, astro engineering or, being a filmmaker. I'm guessing that it's not that stark. What are we missing in higher ed where we're not placing as much value on the arts in your opinion?
Yeah, that is a terrific question. And we think about it all the time, obviously. My longtime colleague is our senior executive vice president. His name is David Klein. He's been here I've been here since 92. He's been here since 95. He wrote an article just exactly on this subject. And it's in the Hechinger report. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but and it's really about the value of arts in education all through higher ed, but all through, and how our experience, certainly we see from our graduates, but what we see in our students and our own children who do this work is whether it's performing arts or visual arts, the skills, the hard and soft skills Sonny was talking about are developed, in a very deep, imprinted way. I was a very academic student, perfectly capable of doing all that academic work. But once I started making films as an undergraduate at Harvard, it's a very different kind of understanding and learning that's sort of like full body. And it does change you. And so in performing arts, we think about the poise and professionalism that a trained actor has, their ability to understand, respond in the moment, authentically to situations, to, create a performance that's nuanced, that people respond to as a performer. Those are skills and abilities that great if you book big roles, and a lot of our graduates do. We have the Lincoln Lawyer on TV now. The Lincoln Lawyer. He is one of our grads, but they're also out there doing other related work in other fields in the arts or outside of the arts, where that education really creates, I think, quoting Matthew Modine again, he always says when he talks to our students, this is about becoming a human being. That's what we're doing. So I think arts are essential to that ability. When we opened, it seemed like film school was a kind of a luxury, and we were making it accessible through our intensive short programs and so on, opening it up to more people. But I came to believe by turn of the century that it's like it's not a luxury. It's essential. It's like a necessity. People have this. And I heard recently something like 65% of high school graduates here in the US consider themselves content creators.
Being a TikTok influencer is like the number one desired career for everyone,
So I think we have a responsibility to all those creators to really give them some tools and empower them to tell real stories that are meaningful, that say something about the world and about how they want the world to be. So I think, it's essential. I think it's really a shame that, as you said, often gets cut first. It also points a direction going forward that places like NYFA, like New York Film Academy, are a place that conserves this form and advances it, and that there will continue to be places like us because of that need. And I hope we'll see it come back as one of this essential parts of an education from K through grad school.
It takes us through that thread, Sonny. Like, we need more human thinking. We need more critical thinking when AI is here. But wait a minute, we just cut all of our arts programs, right?
Right. And you brought up the dreaded term ROI. Currently, we live in a world, in a society, especially in the US, where the only way we can measure something is the return on investment, the dollars. If I pay this much for my education, how much will I earn per year when I get out?
Usually only the first year is what's measured too, like that first.
Right. And that's the otother thing, which
Insane.
is so the odds are stacked against the institution because everyone's getting an entry position unless you're, for the most part, that's what's happening with graduates. And so obviously, Joe, there's been a movement to try to broaden the definition of outcomes, what happens after graduation. And our accreditor is WASC, and they introduced a new criterion for review this last year. It's 2.11, and it has to do with post-graduation outcomes. And what I really appreciate about our accreditor is that they've always been at the forefront, and they've always been willing to innovate and experiment and incubate, and they're open to the feedback of their member institutions in terms of what do you think are positive outcomes that are above and beyond how much your graduates will earn 6 months and 12 months out from graduation. And so I'm very excited, and I'm hoping that this is something that can really take hold and people can talk about, societal impact, service to your community, personal fulfillment, things like that are a little bit less quantitatively measurable and a little more qualitative. I personally believe that the only true way you can find out if an education had a good ROI is on a person's deathbed. You can ask them, are you glad you went to the college you went to and got the education you got, or are you not? Because it comes out, it manifests in so many different ways that are above and beyond just what job you get. So I'm very optimistic that people are going to push for this notion of some more of these sort of less quantitative measures of what kind of an effect it's had on you as a whole human being.
Yeah, that's a wonderfully put. I mean, the other piece about what we do is Sonny kind of talked about the reverse engineering of the curriculum, project-based learning. So our programs, I think it's pretty logical. With film, it starts with the very first film is like the very first film that was ever made, and it builds through there. And if we had more time, I'd really go deep on it with you. But the point of it really is that by the end of a program, students are creating very complex projects that they're taking from beginning to end. Those are used for our assessment, to kind of really look at how is our curriculum achieving the outcomes we want. And that work, mastering the skills necessary to complete the kind of projects, professional projects our students are doing at the undergrad level, at the grad level, is an ROI that they take with them into the field. It makes them extreme. I think it creates what Sonny was talking about, a sense of accomplishment, even contentment and happiness, that achievement, but it really translates to someone who's capable in the workforce in our industry or in related work. So yeah, I mean, I don't remember what the question was now.
That's all right. Your response was great. But we want to keep ourselves on time. We were going to have you guys come back for a subscriber only episode, but I think the content's too good. So I'd just like to leave it open for everyone. We want to know here. I got two questions for you guys. You get to pick which one you want to answer. You guys got to duel it out though. I'm not going to, Number one, who wants to answer the open mic question? This is the easy one. The open mic. You get an open mic. You get to tell us what else we need to know about a NYFA that we haven't talked about. That's one. And the other one is what you see for the future of higher education. So who's doing which one? I'm going to hit the Jeopardy song while you guys said, no, I won't do that.
Wow. There's so much to say about NYFA, and I hope we can come back, and I'll bring two more people to talk with. But we, I think we've hit on some of the key pieces. I want to tell one little quick story related. We really emphasize the importance of humanity and interaction and collaboration and understanding humanity, that empathy is essential to storytelling. And being in someone else's shoes and trying to understand that as an actor, critical. We had to go online as everybody for a period there. And we were worried, like, how could you possibly do this that way? And I just remember what was quite amazing. We had a program. It was an intensive film program, filmmaking. There were a student in Libya, a student in, LA, students from all over the world in this group, from home, of course, doing this class. And even though they weren't in the same room, the bonds that were formed between the students and the tears that were shed at the end of that, it's a 6-week program or something, was just so extraordinary what doing this work with other people, even if you're not in the same room, can how much can change you. And so many of our graduates stay in touch with each other, continue to work together, form companies, do international production, since they are from all over the world. I think that's one thing. We've said it, but I would emphasize it about NYFA, that it is a community of artists from everywhere, the common passion for telling stories, for getting into, let's just say, showbiz, entertainment, visual and performing arts. I think our faculty, we've talked about them a little bit. They are the lifeblood of the institution. They are the ones who really must, and they do, inspire our students, see our students. I've heard stories from faculty of students telling them, I've been in many schools and had many kinds of experience. I've never been in a room where we're all together and we're actually looking at each other and talking about each other's work. And this teacher, you actually care what I made and you think it matters. Hopefully that happens everywhere, but it's very powerful here. That kind of connection and the way the faculty treat our students as artists, as professionals, and as people. I really think we did touch on a lot. I'm sure we missed a lot. We've 33 years young, but it's also been a lot of history too, and we'd love to talk about it more.
When
Sonny,
you're talking about something that you love, time goes by really fast too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. You're right. Sonny, do you have did I think I
Yeah, I think you did a great job, and I think
Thank you.
to sort of draw it. I feel like there should be a drinking game every single time someone in a podcast says, "With great power comes great responsibility." I mean, I really was hoping to avoid that phrase today, but
Cheers.
but I do think that that's what's alive and electric in the room as well, is that all of these students who we have from around the world who have their own experiences and their own stories, it just fills me with such pride and joy to think about how seriously they take their role in society to be storytellers and truth tellers and communicators and bridge builders. It is unbelievable. And believe me when I say, I'm talking like 165 plus countries. We've had students from that number of countries come through our doors. And it's just amazing to see how seriously they go about the work of telling stories that truly matter to them. And I'm even going to go so far as to say that when I was in film school, in undergrad and grad, I don't even feel that like my colleagues and I sort of had that sense of purpose. I think we just thought we want to tell stories, but it was a little more sort of just because movies are really great and it's a great way to spend 2 hours. There's something different, I think, about this generation of our students where they have a sense of purpose of like, I need to tell this story that the world should know because it would make the world a better place to have this understanding.
Wow. I love it, you guys. This has been incredible. I love talking about humanity and higher education. It's the noble work that you do. It cannot be overstated. We have so many great professionals in higher education. That's what we love to do here at the EdUp Experience podcast, along with making education your business, which is our tagline. Kind of got dual meanings on that one. But it's to celebrate the work of our great colleagues across the country and make sure we recognize them for the work that they're doing. Amazing colleagues with me today. Sonny Calderon, he's the Vice President of Academic Affairs, and Michael Young, President at the New York Film Academy. The audience, would you just stop? I mean, these guys are amazing. Guys, sit down and relax. No, you guys have done a great job. I hope you had fun today talking about the work that you do. I try to make it as fun as possible because it has to be fun for us to do it, right?
Absolutely.
So wonderful. Really great. Please, we'll come back next week if you have the time.
Sounds good. Well, you know what? It's funny you say that because I do record every single day here at the EdUp Experience at 12 Central Time. I am booked out until February. However, I always fit in my friends. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, check out the New York Film Academy. I had the website up in front of me and I lost it. Whoever wants to say it out loud.
NYFA.edu.
I should have known it. You know, I've seen enough websites. I should have known it. NYFA.edu. Check out the New York Film Academy and all the great work they're doing to serve students, our country. I know you've watched a movie or a show lately. You've probably seen somebody from or experienced somebody from the New York Film Academy on it. Great work, everybody. And with that, you've just EdUp'd.
Now listen up.
Insights EDU 2025 is almost here. Join us February 12th through 14th in New Orleans for the most anticipated higher education marketing and enrollment management event of the year.
I like that.
Imagine 3 action-packed days filled with game-changing insights, real-world case studies, and a hands-on workshop designed to transform your marketing strategy and boost your program enrollment. Learn from speakers at Google, Meta, Reddit, MIQ Digital, and top schools across the nation. Network with industry leaders, exchange ideas, and discover the tools to drive real results. This is your opportunity to stay ahead of the competition and meet the demands of today's modern learners. Don't wait. Spots are filling fast. Mark your calendar, rally your team, and head to insightsedu.com to register now. The era of the modern learner is here, and you need to be part of it. We'll see you in New Orleans. Ellucian Live is taking place April 6th through 9th, 2025 in Orlando, Florida.
You just made the list.
Get ready for an unforgettable experience at Ellucian Live 2025. Join visionary leaders from institutions worldwide as we dive into groundbreaking ideas, cutting-edge solutions, and transformative best practices that will ignite your passion for innovation. This is your chance to connect, collaborate, and propel your institution into the future. Do not miss out.
Let's go!
Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.